Solving equations is 2.1 using one operation. And the key when solving equations, remember equations have equal signs, is to isolate the variable. That is usually the alphabet letter, can be X, can be Y, can be A, B, and so on. So first you undo the subtraction or addition. In this case, we want to do the -2 with a +2 to both sides, because remember, equation is like a teeter-totter. In order for it to balance, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. So in this case, the 2's drop out, and 3 plus 2 is 5, so x equals 5. Another example is when we have the variable, usually it's on the left, but this time it's on the right. So we want to isolate this guy right here. So it has a -7 with it, so we use a +7 on both sides, and we end up with -12 equals y, or y equals -12. Okay, here's where students have a little bit of trouble, because remember, when we add and subtract fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So here, we want to solve for x. It has a +1/8 with it. So we have to use a -1/8 to get rid of it. And we do that on the other side also. So we have 7/4 minus 1/8. So the common denominator between 4 and 8 is 8. So 4 will go into 8 2 times, and we have 7 of them. So 7 times the 2 is the 14. 8 goes into 8 once. 1 times the -1 is -1. Now we have both fractions changed to the common denominator, so 14 minus 1 is our 13/8. Okay, we're going to continue with 2.2, solving equations using more than one property of equality. So now we have 2x plus 6 equals 10. First, you want to undo the addition. So we have a +6 with this variable right here. So we use a -6 on both sides, and we end up with 2x equals 4. And then we want only 1x, so we divide both sides by 2. We undo the multiplication. We get x equals 2. The next one, want to do that one very carefully, because this is something that can really speed up the process here. When you have a fraction in front of the variable, 5/8 is the coefficient, tells us how many of them we have. So first we undo the subtraction. In this case, we add a +2 to both sides, and we'll get 5/8 x equals -10. Then we use the reciprocal to do everything in one process. So the reciprocal of 5/8 is 8/5. So we multiply the 8/5 by each term. In this case, 8/5 times the 5/8. Everything cancels, so we're left with just where we want to be at 1x. -10 over 1 times 8/5. We can cross cancel here. 5 into 5 once. 5 into -10, -2 times. -2 times 8 is -16. Let's take a couple more examples here. So here's our variable out here, the y. We want to get that all by itself. So with it is a negative 0.8. So we add the 0.8 to both sides. And over here, we'll get 0.6 equals a negative y. Well, we need a positive y. So we can either divide both sides by negative 1 or multiply both sides by negative 1. So in this case, I divided. So a negative divided by a negative gives us our positive y. And a positive divided by a negative gives us our negative 0.6. And now we have one, where we have a variable on both sides. So let's undo the addition first. And we're going to work with the 4x rather than the 3x, because when we get rid of this 3x, we'll still have a positive x over here, and it's a lot easier to deal with positive than negative, so we don't have to go through that dividing by a negative 1. So we get rid of the positive 36 on both sides with negative 36. So now we have 3x minus 51 equals 4x. Then we're working with this guy. So we get rid of the negative 3x, use negative 3x over here, and we get negative 51 equals x. I want to do a fair amount of these with fractions because that's where a lot of people have trouble. 1/6x plus 5/2 equals 1/3. So now we have three different denominators here, and we need to find the least common denominator for them. In this case, it's 6. In other words, of the three denominators, 6, 2, and 3, they will all divide into 6, the smallest number. So what we do then is we take that 6 and we multiply it by every term in the equation. That will eliminate all the fractions. So here the 6's cancel. We have x. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 1 is 2. Then all we have to do, because we're solving for this guy, is to counteract the positive 15 with a negative 15, and we get our final answer.